If we strive for our limitations, we'll always succeed. I had a supervisor tell me that often once upon a time. And I gotta say, he was a great boss. Wait now, scratch that. Boss is a dirty word around here. He was a great mentor and supervisor. And that's what we're going to go after today. What he was talking about is our limiting beliefs in the fact that we ourselves believe we're not capable of achieving something or achieving less than what we truly are capable of. Now, let's get that out of the way. Let's tackle that crap and throw it to the side. All right, are you ready for this? Let's do it. Welcome one, welcome all to the Peak Performance Leadership Podcast, a weekly podcast series dedicated to helping you hit peak performance across the three domains of leadership. Those being leading yourself, leading your team, and leading your organization. This podcast couples my 20 years of military experience as a senior Canadian Army officer with world-class guests to bring you the most complete podcast of leadership going. And for more, feel free to check out our website at movingforwardleadership.com. And with that, let's get to the show. Yes, welcome one, welcome all. It is your Chief Leadership Officer, Scott McCarthy, and it's so good to have you in today. And we're going to just kill and crush this topic today. And that topic is self-limiting beliefs, shall we? And you're probably wondering, okay, Scott, what has this got to do with leadership? And the thing is, everything. You see, limiting beliefs will hold you back. It'll hold your team back because your team will have those as well. And if you and your team hold yourselves back because of these limiting beliefs that you can't achieve something, then what you're going to do is you're going to develop a culture of that within your organization, and your entire organization will actually get held back. So the moral of the story is here: limiting beliefs are evil. They wreck people, they hold them back, and it stops people from truly achieving what it is they set out to achieve. Whether that's a daily, monthly, weekly, yearly basis, it doesn't matter. But moral stories, limiting beliefs are just atrociously horrible thing that we need to just get rid of in the world of leadership. We need to get rid of in the world altogether, reality. So, first off, what I'll tell you is, yes, in the past, I definitely had limiting beliefs. I didn't think there was imposter syndrome. I didn't think I was as capable as what I actually was. And therefore, I would go and place these limiting beliefs upon myself. I would think that I wouldn't be able to lead such a large team, that I wasn't capable of handling extremely high stress situations. And here's the even funnier part was that I'd already gone through leading large teams. I'd already gone through extremely intense, high stress situations. I've already done all that. When I was young, I was like 24, 25 years old. I was leading a team of 84 soldiers as a platoon commander. That is a lot. That's bigger than many, perhaps your company, you, the listener, right there, your company, your business, your organization might not even be 84 people. And here at that young age, I was running a team that size. High intense, stressful situations. I spent 7 months embedded with the Afghan National Army in Kandahar, Afghanistan, where every day was a stressful event, where I didn't know who the good guys were, and I didn't know who the bad guys were because they were all the same. And yet here I was embedded, living with the Afghan National Army And yes, we found out later that some of these people we were with in training were actually the enemy. And I spent 7 months embedded with them, training with them, treating them like we were brothers. So the moral stories here, yes, I have had my own limiting beliefs, despite the fact of all the things that I had achieved at that time. So I guess the most important thing for you to understand right now is what are limiting beliefs? And it's pretty self explanatory, really. It's that thought that you are unworthy or incapable of achieving something. Okay? So, for example, when the first sub 4 minute mile was ran, suddenly there were many more people running the sub 4 minute mile. Now, why is that? Because people began to believe that it was possible. Prior to it actually happening, everyone believed it was impossible. It couldn't be done. So it held them back. It held them back from being able to run that. Now, I didn't think of this story before I hit record, and I don't want to go and take time right now to stop and get the names and the actual numbers, because reality is it's not important. But the moral of the story is this, is that once it was achieved, then others began to believe that it was achievable themselves as well. My argument is that these people who did it after the first person who did it could have done it themselves earlier. There's no reason why they couldn't have done it. It was just a limiting belief that it was impossible, unachievable. So it is those beliefs that hold us back. Okay? So I talked a bit about my own limiting beliefs and how they weren't actually really relevant. Let's talk about how you can potentially get over them, shall we? And that is reflection. Reflection is a huge, huge destroyer of limiting beliefs. You see, if you reflect properly, you can go ahead and destroy these limiting beliefs that you have. So, how do you go about reflecting upon it? Journaling is a fantastic way to do so. So, think about a limiting belief you have and write down what it is and why you believe that is true. And now, the next thing you want to do is start recognizing or looking for the evidence that support that belief. So let's say you are a super runner, and I'm using this example, and you say, I can't run a 5K. Despite the fact every day you go out and you run 4K. You love it. You go out, but you say, oh, 4 is my limit. Then you start looking at the different evidence. And you ask yourself, well, how exhausted am I after 4K? Well, I'm a little tired, but am I keeling over, coughing, gasping, collapsing to the ground? No. How fast am I running? Oh, I'm running about 5 minute, 30-second kilometer. Well, could I slow my pace down? Maybe I slow it down to a 6 to preserve energy. How would that do? So you start looking at the different evidence. And you start going, wait now. And you deliberately attack the limiting belief with evidence that counters that belief. So this comes out from a coaching call which I had today with someone. And they, like my team at the Leader Growth Mastermind, well, this specific person is getting ready to take on the 75 Hard Challenge as well. They're doing it with a different group, but we were still having a coaching call. And his limiting belief was he couldn't drink the gallon of water. Now, let me hit pause for a second and back up. If you're unaware of the 75 Hard Challenge, it is a mental toughness challenge. A lot of people think it's a physical fitness challenge. It's not. It's a mental toughness, mental endurance challenge where for 75 days straight, you have to take on 6 different tasks. The 6 different tasks are, well, I just mentioned the first one, the gallon of water. Okay, drink a gallon of water. Another one is take a progress picture every day. Another one is drinking no alcohol. The fourth is picking a meal plan and sticking to it. The fifth is reading 10 pages a day of a self-help book, no novels or anything, but something which is going to help you develop. And then the final challenge or task, I should say, is 2 45-minute workouts. And yes, they have to be separated. If you go for the true 75 hard challenge, one also has to be outside. So those are the 6 tasks which you need to complete daily for 75 days. So as I was saying, this client of mine was having a limiting belief of how he was able to take this challenge on. He wanted to change the challenge. He didn't believe that he could drink, not that he couldn't drink the gallon of water, but rather he didn't like what the consequences of drinking a gallon of water per day was. You see, this person had took on and successfully completed the challenge a few years ago and knew that drinking a gallon of water equates to getting up and using the washroom multiple times a day. Multiple times throughout the night. And he didn't want to go through that again. He was like, it exhausted him. He was like, it ruined my sleep. It made me a zombie because I was getting up 5, 6, sometimes 7 times a night going to pee because he was drinking this gallon of water. So I said, okay, what is this? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, this is a limiting belief. You can drink the gallon of water without having the negative effects of having to pee so often throughout the night. It's all about the systems and processes you put in place to support you. So right now, I am, at the time of this recording, on day 3 of my 75 hard challenge, and I am drinking a gallon of water per day. The systems and processes I have in place to make sure that I don't have a similar problem, because I felt it too when I did it 3 years ago with him, was that I aim and I have processes in place to drink the water as quick as possible, early as possible in my day. I want to get it out as quick as possible. Now, am I sitting there first thing in the morning chugging a gallon of water? God, no. But I will tell you, I get up at 5 a.m. to work out. By 7 a.m., I already have 2 liters, so I'm doing half a gallon drank. Okay? So within 2 hours of my 24-hour day, I have half of the water requirement drank because of the systems and processes I have in place. You see, by my coffee maker, I have a large jug of water, which I keep at room temperature. That is there in my face when I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And the first thing I do is drink a liter right out of the gate. I have it there. It's waiting for me. And there we go. I down a liter of water before I do anything else. And that is the system aspect of it, right? Having the water there in my face, that's a systematic thing. I do it every night before I go to bed. The process aspect of it is that if this, then that type of process. So if this happens, then that will happen. In this case, I will add, I'm also an avid coffee drinker. I love coffee. Absolutely love the taste of it. Love the warmth of it. Love everything about it. And at 5 o'clock in the morning, yes, I want a cup of coffee. However, I do not allow myself to have a cup of coffee until I've drank 1 liter of water. There is the process aspect of this. And I explained this to him, and immediately his limiting belief disappeared. It went away. He's like, wow, you do it. I can do it. So today, for example, my gallon of water was drank by 3:30 p.m. All gone. Check mark. Done. And he understood and he stopped wanting to change the challenge, but rather took the challenge on head on, the way it's meant to be done. Because he now believes that he can drink the gallon of water without having the negative effects which he doesn't want to have. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how we come over limiting beliefs. We develop strategies and we put in processes to overcome these limiting beliefs. Okay. Another thing which often comes up in limiting beliefs is confidence. A lot of people believe that, oh, I can't do it. I just don't have the confidence. Confidence is developed simply by recognizing your wins, the great things you achieve. The more things you achieve, the more confident you become. Simple as that. Now, the problem is, this day and age, we've learned or we've come to believing that the wins that we have aren't good enough because we're always looking at the next thing, or we're always looking at the other person. So again, back to journaling. Go and reflect upon the great things you have achieved. Look at your goals. Look at the tasks that you set out to do. These are all wins. Don't worry about what Jill or John are doing. Worry about what you're doing, what you're achieving. Embrace the journey. Think about hiking up a 10,000 foot mountain. And the one thing I want you to first think about is how you would go about if you didn't look back, if you just went straight ahead. How exhausted would you be at, let's say, 7,500 feet up the 10,000 foot mountain? You'd probably be pretty tired. You probably think that you wouldn't be able to make it because you actually wouldn't know unless there was a sign you were at 7,500 feet. And then you might quit because I can't do it. I'm not going to make it. Then you start walking down the hill. But then another version you pass by, that version you at 7,000 feet. And then at 7,500 feet, this version of you does what it's done at every 2,500 foot increment. It stopped. It took 5 minutes. It turned around and it admired the view. And it looked for the parking lot at the base of the mountain each time. You see, what we're doing here is that we're taking a moment to look at our progress, not for how far we have to go, but rather how far we've come. And that builds confidence because you get that endorphins, you get that dopamine hit. You go, wow, I've come so far. And you get that motivation, that short burst of motivation to carry on. You go, wow, I've already done 7,500. What's another 2,500? We got this. We can do it. That crushes limiting beliefs. So use these strategies with you. Use these strategies with your team. What if your team, you're sitting in a meeting? Like, how do I apply this with the team? Well, I'm about to tell you. You're sitting in a meeting and your team believes they can't achieve something. Go, stop. Let's brainstorm how we might achieve this. How have we done similar things in the past? Nothing's new. Nothing. Sure, you might say, oh, well, the iPhone came out. It was new. It was revolutionary. No, it wasn't. There's already devices out similar to the iPhone. Android was already on the market. BlackBerry already had complete market domination. It wasn't new. It was different, sure. You see, how might we achieve this is a hell lot better than how come we won't? Or, sure, what can we do instead? No. How might we achieve this? What can we do? What can we put in place? What systems do we need? What processes do we need? Do we need training? Do we need more brainstorming opportunities? Do we need new team members? Do we need this? Do we need that? You get the point. Put the systems and put the processes in place, and you'll watch your limiting beliefs get destroyed. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is today's episode. So if you find yourself reaching for your limitations, as my good old former supervisor Steve used to say, then stop reaching. Stop reaching for your limitations. Reach for dependence instead. And go, what systems or processes might I put in place? And what evidence do I have that this limiting belief is actually and truly true? That, ladies and gentlemen, is it for this week. Thank you as always. Take care. Remember, as always, lead, don't boss. And we'll see you next time. And that's a wrap for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting the Peak Performance Leadership Podcast. But you know what you could do to truly support the podcast? And no, that's not leaving a rating and review. It's simply helping a friend. And that is helping a friend by sharing this episode with them if you think this would resonate with them and help them elevate their performance level, whether that's within themselves, their teams, or their organization. So do that. Help me, help a friend, win-win all around. And hey, you look like a great friend at the same time. So just hit that little share button on your app, and then feel free to fire this episode to anyone that you feel would benefit from it. Finally, there's always more. There's always more lessons around being the highest performing leader that you can possibly be, whether that's for yourself, your team, or your organization. So why don't you subscribe? Subscribe to the show via movingforwardleadership.com/subscribe. And until next time, lead, don't boss, and thanks for coming out. Take care now.